Welcome to the lucky 14th episode of Born in Trouble. I'm your host, John X, with my illustrious guest, the city wearing Kang, Mr. Grant Lancaster.
What up, dog? How you feel, big boy?
You know, you know, hot as a chicken wing in some grease. But
Mm-hmm.
who is it?
Mm-hmm.
Who is it?
Yeah, it was warm today.
Was it?
It was a little warm today. Yeah, it's supposed to be we supposed to be up in the 90s next couple of days.
Yeah, that's what they're saying here for the end of the week. Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Up in Detroit City, where you are. Detroit City.
Mm-hmm. Doctor.
That's right.
Detroit.
Dr. Detroit. Exactly. You have any ill effects from those Canadian wildfires, or are they missing you completely?
No, we had the air quality warnings and all that kind of thing for a few weeks. We had all that stuff, but for the past few days at least, it's been fairly clear.
Well,
So yeah, I don't know if it's over or not. I haven't checked.
yeah, I just watched the weather today, and they said that it's going to be bad for the next couple of days as far as like breathing is concerned out here. So
Right.
I was just curious as to whether y'all have had an effect because you're closer to like Canada up there than I am over here. You can pretty much drive right
Right.
over there, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Canada's south of me. It's like 4 or 5 miles from my house.
That's the spot. Well, that's
Yeah.
good.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's good.
Not that far at all.
Yeah, bro.
But no-
So I'm just gonna say a big, quick shout out to Mr. Brooks and Mr. Hopkins, who won't be with us this week
Yes, sir.
due to weather conditions. I think they're just scared of the wokeness.
Yeah.
Scared of the wokeness.
Them boys be all about it.
Yeah, you know,
Mm-hmm.
this is a HBCU thing right now. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? We want to know. We want to have this conversation about woke. You know, first of all, man, I was looking at some stuff. This week was a very interesting week for learning things, for learning different things about history in the past. And I'm so glad that I am never messing with Florida. Florida is not on my menu. It's not on my state. And, you know, apparently a lot of people are starting to feel the same way about Florida. A lot of businesses are feeling the same way about Florida with the anti-wokeness, to which the governor of that state says, fuck it. You know,
Right.
two tiers in a bucket. I'm good without the finance. And, you know, as he says that, I was looking at something that was interesting. Do you know that, and this is not an endorsement for any candidate for president, but did you know that 70% of the GNP, that vote went to Biden, and the other 30% went the other way? So the people that are actually like making this country run financially
Right.
are not with that
That are putting money into the economy.
that are putting money into the economy, and the others have guns and attitudes.
Right.
I thought that was an interesting. I thought that was an interesting stat.
It is, but it actually kind of makes sense when you think about it, because the people who spend money are typically poorer people, working class people and poorer people. They have to spend money. Rich people don't necessarily have to spend money like that.
Well,
You know what I mean?
Well, when you talk about supporters for that party, they carry Mississippi, they carry Louisiana, they carry Alabama, they carry all these Kentucky, all of these poor states that they take more money than they put into the national economy. They're they're essentially welfare recipients.
Right. But it doesn't matter though, because to my way of thinking, I'll put it this way, it doesn't matter. So as a white person in America, your next morning, okay, so today I'm here, but tomorrow something could happen and I could be in Rockefeller status. You know what I mean? I think that's just kind of how poor white people think. Like, okay, today I'm poor, but if I just keep working, tomorrow I'll be, you know, on that level. I'll be a Walton. I can make that much money. I could, you know what I mean, like hit that idea or do whatever to get that money. So it's easy to believe, that they, you know, they spend it's easy for them to carry that party. You know what I mean? Because in their minds, they just think that they're part of that.
I don't know. I have a hard time believing, or I guess the part of it, and that's kind of what they did with people back in history, before they actually had slavery the way it was. First, it was indentured servants and slaves, together, and then then they started looking around and they were like, hey, Tim Wise is, a historian in this country, and he's got that video that explains it to people where the rich owners looked around and they said, hey, they outnumber us by many more, and if they ever decided
Right.
that they were going to get together, we're out of there. And
Right.
that was really the beginning of white per se. There's no such thing as white culture. White culture,
Right.
well, there is such a thing because it's been around for 300 years, and it's the KKK and all of these other things that are deep in the establishment. And conversations like this that we're having that aren't biased at all, they're just simply factual. They're just factual stuff, things that happen. This is what they call the woke agenda. This is what they call changing history. But it's not actually changing history, it's actually teaching history as it occurred, the good and the bad, or talking about history in this case, because we're not professors,
Right.
we're just having a conversation on the internet about it. Why do you think
Right.
that whole thing is this whole woke, anti-wokeness? And the thing is that really pissed me off about it before I even get into it, I don't like the term woke. And I don't like white people using that term because if you're going to be honest, I just wish that they would stop being dishonest about it and just call it what it is, anti-black. Anti-anything that has to do with people who are descended from Africans that were slaves in this country.
Right. I agree with that. I'm very I think that the whole woke thing has been kind of misappropriated. You know what I mean? I think it's been hijacked. I mean, we kind of said woke as a slang kind of thing. And then all of a sudden it became a popular term. And when anything that becomes popular, it just doesn't have the same connotation anymore, because the people who decided that it was quote unquote popular didn't have the inner meaning of it. You know what I mean? Like it was an internal thing.
Right.
And now that the cat is out the bag, they just kind of made it mean what they wanted to mean.
Should black people be more upset about the fact that they've taken that term woke or that they use this code word? Because honestly, to me, I think that every time I hear a white person say woke, I hear black.
Right. So it's all the same dog whistle. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what the word is. If it's, woke, or if it's people of color, you know what I mean? Like you just kind of know based on connotation, you just kind of know what they're talking about. And maybe that's just our internal thing, you know what I mean? Based on our treatment in this country, you know what I mean? Certain things, whether we like it or not, certain things about this country are imprinted in our DNA, and that treatment of like, I don't want to call it fear, but that leeriness of police, you know what I mean? That you understand when the police pulls you over, there's a certain way that you need to behave in order to,
Survive
have right. And not even have have better than a 50-50 chance of survival.
Right.
And there's just a certain way that you got to act. And innately we know that, so I think when you hear certain terms, you just kind of, or our interpretation of it has our history on it.
Well, piggybacking on what you just said, in terms of what's going on with, we said that we're not really getting too much into politics. I'm moving the basis of the show out of politics per se. But you can't ignore what's going on. You can't ignore the rhetoric. You have to pay attention somewhat to what some of these people are saying. And with what just happened with the Supreme Court a couple of months ago, just last month actually, with them taking affirmative action and throwing it in the garbage, and we had the conversation there, and I heard that guy say, like, look, this is a good thing because now we can deal with the actual problem, which is inequity in schools and things of that nature. You look at a guy like DeSantis, and he's saying that Florida is the place where woke comes to die. So that's another reason not to go to Florida, because
right.
In my interpretation, he's saying this is where black people go to die. I don't live in Florida. If I go there, I'm just going to Disneyland or Miami. People from Miami are starting to say, a lot of them are starting to say, we're not a part of Florida. We're Miami. We're different.
Mm-hmm.
We're something different. Disney's pulling out. A lot of businesses are pulling out.
Yeah.
They're going the way of Mississippi at this point, happily so, barefoot. Barley in between the teeth and everything, and running around and everything, and that's fine. Listen, you took a perfectly good beach with a whole bunch of honeys all over the up and down the sides, and you said that, we don't like the brown ones. And the crazy thing is that if you want to get biblical with it, the meek shall inherit the earth. If you have no melanin with these temperatures going up, it's like almost like the prophecy is like, you could have predicted exactly what was happening. We put too many chemicals out into the world and basically have taken away all these layers. You've got these wildfires because these people want to do whatever they want to do. They didn't respect nature. They killed off the Indians because the Indians, or I wouldn't say, I'm sorry, did I say Indians? Native Americans. They killed off the Native Americans because they had respect for the land. They had respect for the animals. They had respect for nature. That was a part of it. Big business doesn't have respect for nature. Big business runs oil pipelines and things of that nature, and it doesn't trickle down to these people that are now, quote unquote, white, a condition that didn't exist 300 years ago, whiteness, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
So you put it all together with birth rates, people ain't doing it. White people ain't doing it. You've got Elon Musk on what used to be Twitter, which is now X. Dude, you biting me. You know what I'm saying? It's that you've been biting me. He biting me, but X. He's begging people to have babies. White people to have babies.
Right.
But they can't go out in the sun because people like Elon Musk have ruined outside. And I think that a lot of activity has been kind of quieted down by the fact that the weather is so heinous. It's even too hot to commit crime at this point. And I think that we're seeing, if you look at the news, you're not really seeing too much crime going on. It's too damn hot.
Yeah, no, it ain't a bunch of crime, but it's a bunch of murders happening.
Yeah. You get hot.
Crime is murder, but murder is crime.
Murder is crime, but that's just basically people mad at each other.
Right.
It's too damn hot. That's the way it works. I'm sweating.
Right.
If you don't have AC, they no longer are shipping. They're no longer shipping guns into Chicago. They're going into the projects and pulling ACs out of windows. Try to start.
Yeah, it's real.
It's real.
It's real in the field, for sure.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah.
But, Florida, bro, anti-wokeness, anti-blackness.
Yeah, well, but Florida is really just a microcosm of the country. You know what I mean? So that there's a few black people in a few places in Florida. You got blacks in Miami and whatever other, Orlando, wherever else you have some. There's a few, but there's not an overwhelming population of black people in Miami, in Florida as a whole. So it's, like I said, it's just a microcosm of what America is. You know, it's a biased, prejudiced place. And this is just what America is.
They're running minorities out, and as the minorities flee the country, flee the state, so is the finance. Is there a correlation there somewhere where you're pushing all this anti stuff? You know, the crazy thing about it is that you have all these different people that consider themselves to be conservatives and Republicans. You've got the DeSantis Trump group of people. You've got the George Bush group of people. And then you've got these other guys like the Vivek Ramaswamy, whatever his name is, the guy that's the Indian guy that's running for president and everything, whatever his name is. And he's running on an anti-woke agenda, and he's saying, like, listen, it's a good thing that affirmative action is gone because we don't need to be breaking each other up based upon gender. And this is what the whole anti-woke trope is all about. It says that we're all equal from the time that we're born, and we come up the same ways, we get the same opportunities, and we're taught the same things, and everything is level. And by even talking about it, that's what the problem is, you talking about it. This show that we're having right now, to have the conversation to go a little bit in depth about it, it's not true because it actually happened for him. He's a Indian. Now the term applies.
Well, so what we're talking about though mostly is people's feelings. You know what I mean? When you start talking about anti wokeness and this, that, and the third, I mean, it's all about people don't want to be made to feel a certain way, right? That's basically what it boils down to. So to our detriment, we know that black people will spend their last dollar on some Jordans or whatever dumb shit that black people are decided they buying, iPhone 73 or whatever the fuck is out there. So just imagine that the hate that you have to run these people out, to try to run these people out of your state, when you know that every dime these jokers make, they're going to give right back to your economy. Right? Like, if I'm just saying on a capitalist level.
Can we get more short-sighted? Or care less?
Yeah, I mean, right.
Or care less?
Yeah. I mean, black people spend more money in this country than way more than our 12%. If we 12% of the population, we probably spend 50% of the money. Because we typically ain't saving shit.
Not a damn thing.
Yeah.
Or not a damn thing.
Right. So if you don't want us in your location, you know what I mean? If you don't want us in your state, I mean, cool. You know, all right.
Pushing.
Yeah. To me, I'm out.
See, but their thought process is that once they get everybody out, then they're going to form a militia, and they're going to come in wherever you are. And
right, and push you out of there too.
Push you out of there, or they're going to take your money. They're going to, they're not actually looking to do anything. There was an interesting conversation in the Blackout group online, which is now called something different, because it's split into a couple of different fractions based upon the Blackout buying things. And
I thought you were gonna say it couldn't be called Black Out. It had to be like
woke out.
Everybody out. Well,
there's a lot of cats. There's a lot of cats like that. And I had actually saw something that was interesting. But they had a black guy that came up, and we had covered this probably about a show about a year and a half ago. Do you remember when we had the discussion about African people and about how black people are not a monolith? We always say that, but we actually had the conversation and we broke it down based upon the writings of a book. The difference between the African American, that is the ADOS, the recent immigrant, and whatever other groups that there are that make up that whole thing. So now what we have is we have these people trotting out doppelgangers speaking for us. So there's this guy who's his name is like something like Thomas, you know, second,
Right.
you know, you can just imagine how it's spelled. There's an N, there's a G, there's a Z, there's
Right.
like, you know, there's like all these different letters. I'm not gonna give him any props, but this dude stood up in front of like a group of white people on an educational board and discussed that. He said, listen, we as black people don't need better education from you. We don't need reparations from you. We don't need X, Y, and Z. And it was so funny to read the comments because honestly, when they talk about reparations, he doesn't qualify for reparations. He came as a Nigerian into this country. They had a different pathway, education wise, money wise, and you know, so he's not ADOS. He's not, and he's not trying to learn about ADOS. His point of view is that we did it, you can do it, and he's like more just like everybody else. Everyone is always looking out for their own head. They're trying to protect their own neck, and
Absolutely.
he is moving in those anti-woke spaces, which is essentially anti-black. We just need to call it what it is. It's anti-black. I don't understand why black people, every time a white person says woke, they should just turn to the white person next to them that says that and says, "Don't you mean black?" You know, and then see what they do from there. Because
Right.
honestly, because that's what you're talking about when you say woke.
Yeah, I mean, there's always buzzwords. You know what I mean? There's always buzzwords to hide the agenda as much as possible. But the killer part is I don't even think that all white people, when they say woke, I think some of them think that they're talking about the right thing. You know what I mean? Like I think but the problem is the ones that have the money and are in charge of this shit, that 10%, you know, that 10% that controls the 85, when they say something is woke or anti-woke, they're talking about anti-black.
They mean it. It's that group is true, and also on the other end of that spectrum is the ones that consider themselves to be white, that have forgotten where their ancestors come from. Their ancestors are now they're just white. They were all carpetbaggers when they came here, like
Right.
now, and everything, but they weren't. Those people also, they say it out of a place of ignorance where they're just trying to be smarter to themselves. They're trying to feel like they figured something out. We figured out a way to call you black without getting slapped.
Yeah, they're trying to be cool.
They're trying to be cool.
They're trying to be cool.
In white people's terms. You know,
Right. Absolutely.
You know, we have all these different things happening. Jason Aldean, that guy, the country singer with it doesn't happen like this in a small town. And I was like listening to what he said about, well, it happens in a small town. And I didn't understand that he actually shot his video in a place where they used to hold lynchings. That's the number one song. That's the number one song on the country charts. And his video was shot where they used to have lynching. And he's anti-woke. So it's like, they just need to drop the pretense with this guy. He's not talking about anti-wokeness. He's talking about black.
Yeah.
You know, we used to hang y'all.
Yeah, but he don't want to get canceled though.
He's not,
because then he'll get canceled.
he can't get canceled because
Well, I don't believe canceled is a thing, but
yeah, he can't be canceled. He can't be canceled any more than who are we saying that was a black person that they tried to cancel? Like, he can't be canceled any more than the LGBTQ community can cancel Dave Chappelle, because
right,
there's enough people that are his fans
right,
that no matter what he says,
yeah, I get it.
he's good. He's like he's a successful Ted Nugent, you know,
Right,
because they talk about the same things, except for people are buying this guy's records now.
right.
You know,
It's what they want though. You know what I mean? Like it's So just like we have certain things in our DNA, I think white people have certain things in their DNA. And even though the tribes of white people, just like the tribes of black people were at war with one another, the tribes of white people have been at war too. But the tribes of white people that are in this country now have decided that we are the enemy, we being black people. So, they'll set aside, right, some of them, they'll set aside their tribal differences for the time being, because in their DNA, they remember, right? In their DNA is a certain thing that says, hey, black people are inferior, or whatever it is that they say. Black people don't belong here, or whatever.
If you want to make it less sinister, you could say black people, oppressing these black people is what was our come up in the first place. Right. By siding with rich whites, or that was how we were able to come up and we were able to get things, how we were able to now file lawsuits and become full people and become our own men and women. Yeah. That is their history.
And this is how the entire country was built.
But a lot of them still don't have anything. That's that's the crazy part.
But that's beside the point. That's beside the point, because whether they have anything or not, they're not black.
But they have meth.
Right. So
they have meth.
Right.
They have drug. They've got just as many drug problems, just as many personal problems.
Absolutely.
Just like they're being moved
because people
the same
are people.
Direction.
Yeah, because people are people. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what color you are. The problems of people are always going to be the same problems of people, whatever they happen to be at that time. If it's meth, if it's crack, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, whatever the problem is that's out there in the world, it's going to affect all people across the country. You know what I mean? Like across all color spectrums, all people are going to be affected by whatever is affecting all people at that time. So, however, in terms of white people, their superiority to us has been derived from the fact that they were able to pull off slavery, basically, and build this country up to what it was. Now, clearly, somebody who's born, somebody in our age group, a white person in our age group, didn't have anything to do with slavery, right?
That's correct.
So, yeah. I can see why I can almost understand, hey, I don't want to hear that shit, man. Mm-hmm. Right? Like that shit been over for however long, whenever Lincoln supposedly freed the slaves. That shit been over for that long. However, everything that was built on the backs of these slaves is everything that you now own. Mm-hmm. And not you necessarily, but white people. You know what I mean? Like Chris Rock said, the color blue, right? It's a white person that owns the color blue. When you in Manhattan, someone owns every skyscraper that's in Manhattan. And just consider that. Some people own fucking skyscrapers, apartment buildings. They own that real estate and they own that building.
And especially
people do.
Especially when you consider that those areas right there a lot of that real estate started out as a black neighborhood.
Right.
Right. The lower part of Manhattan was a black neighborhood. And then it took immigrants who were angry at the fact that they were being drafted into the Civil War to burn these black neighborhoods. And that's where we get black people moving up to Harlem and down to Brooklyn. And that's what started that migration. People don't understand this. See, the crazy part is that this is the history that they don't want to talk about. They don't want to touch. And the reason being is because it's not because of the fact that the average white person has a piece of that building, like you said. It's for the same reasons that they came up with these codes in the first place, because they need you not to look at the fact that somebody who owns that building is not your ancestor. Right. You share skin.
But here's an even bigger part. Okay, so let's not take a Rockefeller or a Walton. Let's take a white dude that's just a doctor. He makes whatever he makes, $500,000 a year. I don't know what doctors make. He's an anesthesiologist, and he just happens to be the best anesthesiologist in the country. Let's give him, $5 million a year.
All right, 5 million. Okay.
Okay. All right, let's give him 5 million. So here we come with this same, historical kind of rhetoric, right? Slavery, blah, 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 everything you got because of slavery, blah, blah, blah. To that guy, okay, cool. I get it. What would you like for me to do? Right? What percentage of my money could I give you to shut the fuck up and just leave me alone? You see what I'm saying? So I mean, I understand it. Like, what would you like for me to do? And this is where the rubber kind of meets the road. I want people to know this information, but at the end of the day, what is it that you want from these people? Right. And until you can tell me what you want from me, then I don't really want to hear that shit.
I think that's a great point, because I see people all the time, especially when they talk about the reparations. Yo, just run me my bread. Right. But what are you going to do with your bread, though? If you get it, where's the value going to be? What good is the bread if they don't allow you to buy property?
Right.
Suppose you get $3 million. If they're giving away $3 million in reparations, guess what? Single family residence is going up to $4 million.
Right. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not going to have any. It's not going to have any actual value. So this is why
Cadillacs are going to be a mill.
Cadillacs are going to be a mill. You're going to get $4 million and everything. Cadillacs going up to a mill. You're not getting that Bugatti. That Bugatti is like, money is a construct. You look at it. You look at it very simply. Like, Arabs have so much money and they make so much money. They in the Middle East, they can never spend it. You see, they had that player, soccer player, that he's already getting like $111 million from Real Madrid in salary next year. Mm-hmm. And that's not even what they paid in the transfer fee, which is probably like another like 60, 70 million. And Saudi Arabians came in and they basically put in $1 billion offer for this guy. They wouldn't even feel that money. They've already bought golf. They've bought their way into the PGA Tour. They split the PGA Tour in half. Because let's be honest, white people are hoes too. They want that money. They just like they're Instagram girls. Right. You flash that money in front of them. Yo, it's way too much money. We can't turn this down. Can't turn it down. So this is the world that they live in. This is the world. But there's no intrinsic value to that. So it's like I keep seeing people trying to run to this thing about money and printing money and like we just want money and we want our bread and everything. And I understand that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of black people never came up with any money at any period of time. So you got to comprehend that concept and everything, that they want their bread. But there's really better value to be found. There's better value to be found than things like, okay, like these people are, you make the argument very simply. These people are making the argument that we're all in the same places, we get the same education. How about we actually do make that a reality? Let's get the same education. Let's get the same.
But who's going to be in charge of it? Who's going to be in charge of it?
Well, that's always the problem. They can put me in charge, but I'll probably be corrupted. They'll find me in a hotel.
And that's the thing. As long as there are people are going to be different. And I'm saying different on the surface. Not even how they act, how they, you know what I mean? Nothing like that. People are going to be different on the surface. The reason black and white became a thing, the reason why indentured servitude ended is because, two reasons. The reason that you said before that, hey, we're outnumbered in this bitch, so we need all y'all, right? But the other reason that it ended is because if I'm a white dude and I'm a slave in Hempstead, if I can get the hop hog, I'm no longer a slave.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like I can just walk a couple towns over where nobody knows me, and then I'm not an indentured servant anymore.
Good.
Now I'm just a dude looking for a job.
Yeah, I'm good.
right? So
Right.
it's not like they could keep indentured servants,
You're right.
right? Because you could just walk off
Right.
and be gone, right? So, but like I said, that's the reason that the difference is black and white, because I can instantly see that you are black. There's no, of course, once they started dibbling and dabbling in the slave quarters after hours, of course you started having people that there was some question. Okay, hey, that may be a black guy, maybe not. But when it first started, and still by and large, you see somebody that's black and you know that they black. You know what I mean? So it's easy to make that distinction.
Unless you're Mr. Dup, because because he's African in descent, but he's not AS.
Right.
He's not and what we said, all this stuff is tribal, yo. It's all tribal.
Yeah.
It's all tribal. But I've been watching. There's a lot of interesting characters out there right now. I don't know if Donald Trump is to thank for that, or he's the. I can't say it's a bad thing, because a lot of stuff has happened. But this RFK Jr. running for president, he said something that was very interesting. He was like, anytime you start censoring people, history has told us that censors, people who censor other people, they've never turned out to be the good guys.
Right.
Never. It's historical. So you make a list of people. You start with every one of those poor southern states that we ran off: Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida. Alabama just recently said that they're not even going to adhere to the Supreme Court decision about them redistricting places and areas so that way black neighborhoods, or just basically black people in that area, will have a voice. They're not even going to acknowledge it. They're like, fuck it. Fuck you, feds. One group is where it is. Alabama is like, they're really going out. They're really going all out on this stuff. And like a lot of other places, they're going and the rubber is starting to meet the road, like you said. So,
yeah,
I don't know where we're going to go from here, but I just
I mean, the conversation is always interesting, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, if you're trying to accomplish something, I mean, as well as I do, they talk about a 10-year plan. So you got a 10-year plan. You set some reasonable goals in order to get you to that 10-year piece. Right now, it may take you longer than 10 years, but if you have reasonable short-term goals that can get you to where you're trying to get, then eventually you can make it happen.
Right.
So when you start talking about these conversations in terms of like reparations and how do you get, you should expect white people to be prejudiced towards other white people. You should expect that. What we should also expect is for black people to be prejudiced towards other black people. But we're not. Right? So if we were, and we kept some of our money in our community, let's just see what we could do. You know what I mean? Make it a short-term goal.
I want to say something before I forget off the top of my head, because you said something about black people hating on other black people. And there was, in that group, that was the whole point I was trying to make. In that group, the conversation was based upon black people not looking out for one another to a certain extent, something along those lines. And what I said to this, and this one guy was like, listen, this whole conversation is BS because, there ain't no black unity. There's no black, like, any of the stuff. And I'm like, listen, it's never been that way. And the whole reason why we have this anti-woke, and the reason why they don't want to tell people about this stuff, is because they don't want you to learn about what the black community was like before 1964. They don't want you to understand that there was, if you were traveling from New York to Georgia, a lot of the times when you spent the night in a hotel, that hotel was actually somebody black's living room or home, because black families open up their homes to black travelers, to keep them safe. Whereas today, when someone comes from New York to South Carolina, it's like, where are you from? It's a different thing. And it's just a simple fact that there had to be a lot of steps that went from that. Basically, that was 100, 200 years of black. There's really 100 years of black people looking out for each other in the most intimate of ways. The most intimate of ways. There's nothing more intimate than inviting a person into your house, a man, a woman, a stranger into your house,
right,
to sit at your table and share your food and to sleep underneath your roof for that night in an attempt to find safety for them. And the simple fact that most black people don't understand that actually occurred and have been actually encouraged to believe the opposite. You can't get back something that you never knew you had.
Right.
And that's what this anti-woke thing is about. This anti-black thing is about. It's about they're more desperate. And, after I made my comments, this guy came in and he said so. He was just basically, and I said this to this young dude, and I was like, and I say this like without any type of, malice towards you whatsoever. I'm not trying to disrespect you. I'm not trying to make you look stupid. Even though he came in very strong and very hard and very sure, like they often do, but it's completely and totally off. But I'm like, listen, I'm just schooling you. And a guy came in and said, well, I don't know why you think you would be able to school this person. It was obviously a troll. It was one of those white guys with a black profile coming in there because what I said was so strong, they don't want other people to pick up on it and listen to it. So it's like, so I had to come out and say something negative, and then they try to get you to devolve and get into a conversation with them. You see, but these are lessons that I learned from my parents in the 70s. This is stuff that that I was taught to me by my moms, about how you watch people and how you don't listen to everything that everyone says to you. And, you've got to always consider the source before you open up your mouth and you talk. And these are simple, and before you even take information into your soul. It's like not all food is good food.
Right.
So when attempting to pass this along, this is something that they don't want you to hear. They don't want you to do that. They don't want you teaching these people that. They don't want you educating black people. And that type of education is not something, it's not a matter of greatness. It's just a matter of common decency that we need to grab back.
But so I say it often. It's hard to go back to an age. You know what I mean? Because mentally, once you move past something, it's hard to go back to it.
But is it impossible to grab aspects of it and build upon those aspects? Because that was your nature for over 100 years. It's only 2 generations.
Right. But here's the thing, though. Now that you've bought into the American dream, you know what I mean? The whole everybody's equal. I can go anywhere. I can live anywhere. Now that you've bought into that, whether it's true or not, now that you've bought into it, it's hard to go back to, because so when you were traveling and you stayed at the Johnson Hotel probably wasn't as fresh as the Hilton, right?
Which wouldn't let
but
you
now, in. Right, and it wouldn't let you in. But right now, if the Johnson Hotel and the Hilton, most people are going to choose the Hilton. You know what I mean? So and it could be the Hilton and Howard Johnson.
Right.
Most people with the means are going to go to the Hilton. And that's what it boils down to. That's why it's hard to bring that back, because that comfort, you know what I mean? That access, that the things that we demand, the comforts that we demand that we used to demand have now become mandatory. Right. And it's going to be hard to go back and pull even aspects of it, because it's like I said before on here, you don't buy Gucci or Louis Vuitton or whatever the brand is because you think because it's the dope shit. You buy it because somebody told you it's the dope shit.
You don't even buy, like, the whole conversation as to whether or not that is actually a quality. If you're buying a Gucci bag, it says Gucci, but it could be shit.
Right.
But if it's a quality, you'll pass up a quality product because it says Gucci.
Right. And just think about this. When's the last time you saw a rich person's wife in a Louis Vuitton like outfit, even just a coat
Head to toe.
that had LV on it from top to bottom?
Right. They're wearing the
right.
They're wearing Louis Vuitton, but
they're wearing the subtle shit.
The subtle stuff.
Right. They're wearing the subtle shit. So they don't care if you know that it's Louis Vuitton. Mm-hmm. But Louis Vuitton also makes the shit with Louis Vuitton all over it. Mm-hmm. So that and they know who gonna buy that shit by and large. And I'm not talking about just the bag, but I'm talking about like you see these like rap dudes, whatever, that have on a fucking Louis Vuitton pair of pants and it's got LV sprinkled all over that shit. That shit is fucking retarded.
Just call it what it called. It's posers. And you know what? On that one, I'm gonna say, like, I saw something really funny on the internet. They did a store opened up in Midtown Manhattan, Palessi Shoes, and they did an experiment, and they invited all these different social media contributors, movers, shakers, somebodies on the internet. Influencers, exactly. And they came into the store. And they were loving these brands and these stores, and they were, they $600 for a pair of shoes, $1,000, $2,000 for a pair of pumps. And then after they made their purchase, they let them know that it was actually a drop store for Payless. But
Palessi. That's funny.
Palessi. It was an Italian store.
Yeah.
But it just shows you, like, when you said that, what I was thinking is that, yes, you're getting that people from the hood are going to buy that. But there are also a lot of people that are just generally, it's going to tell, what that does is that kind of tells you who's who. Because I've seen white girls in Louis Vuitton head to toe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just go like this.
Absolutely.
But I just go like, because then I know where they come from, what it is, what their thought process is. You can tell everything from somebody based upon what they're trying to prove and everything. We ain't trying to prove nothing. So
La Schmoove.
We ain't got nothing to prove.
That's right.
Only hip hop heads know that. Only hip hop heads know that. I saw another thing where they had a sheepskin coat, and they were like, if you had one of these, can't nobody tell you nothing about hip hop.
Yes, sir.
But you know what? I was like, they need to put one up with the full length leather bombers, because that's what I was rocking. You feel me?
Yes, sir.
With my Adidas. Rock on, yo, rock on. Yo, while we laughing and everything, did you see this guy that got pulled over? The truck driver really hit me today because, my daddy was a truck driver. And he was scared, nervous. Apparently, he had one mud flap that was missing from his trailer. And the police were trying everything to get him to stop and pull over. He was somewhere down in the South and everything. And they even threw spikes out there. And eventually he did stop, and there were state police on the scene, and there were local police on the scene. He gets out the truck, hands up in the air. If you turn on CNN or you turn on MSNBC, you'll see it tonight. I don't know if they'll show it on Fox. I don't know. But he gets out, has his hands up, and police are all trained around him. And the state police officer tells the other cop, don't release your dog. His hands are up. Don't release your dog. So what did he do?
Release the dog.
Releases the dog. Boy, ate him up. And then,
Django.
Of course, what did he say to him? He said, well, you shouldn't have been driving. You should have pulled over sooner. Now, it's got nothing to do, once your hands are up, you're out the car. We've seen plenty of people get shot in these same situations. Plenty of people get choked out in these same situations. And this is what they're doing. This is what they do. So then I would have to ask my man, Vivek Ramaswamy, you know, the guy that's running for president and everything. Does that cop, does that police officer see all of us as being the same? Because if he would have walked out, if the guy would have got out of his truck and he would have had a rebel hat on with his hands up in the air, would he have released the dog? And it wasn't like he just jumped out and they released the dog. He was literally standing on the street like this for at least 30 seconds in the video, so I don't know where it got picked up, how long he was out there. But he was out there for a while. Wasn't reaching for nothing, and they just sent the dog after him.
Yeah.
How can you tell people that they're equal when this thing's happened? You see, the problem is that as long as you employ these people that behave in that manner, you're always going to be talking out the side of your face. But they don't care.
Yeah, my brother's 23 years old.
23 years old. Did you see it, or this first time?
No, I didn't see it.
I know you were.
I just pulled it up.
Yeah, I know you were.
Yeah, I just pulled it up. Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how do you make that? You don't. You don't. So
no, you can't try to justify certain behaviors, man. I just don't believe in even trying to justify certain shit. Like there's no reason for this. I don't care what he did. Right? Once he gets out of the car and once he gets out of the truck, his hands are up, he's on the ground or whatever, and you release the dogs on him at that point. Yeah. See, you need to go under the jail.
You do. You shouldn't be employed as a police officer, but
no.
Then again, in certain places, you should. That's exactly the behavior that they're looking for. That's exactly the decision-making that they're looking for. That's exactly what they're trying to do. A police officer's job in a lot of cases is to keep them from us. And
right.
In Chicago, you have, in Detroit, and all these, I don't know how bad the crime is in Detroit now, but I know in Chicago, crime is always a thing. But crime is always a thing because of the conditions that the people live in.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much anywhere you go to. West Virginia, crime is a thing in West Virginia in certain areas because of the conditions that those people live in. They used to work in coal mines. They used to work in ore mines. Those things are done. They're closed down. Automation has replaced a lot of them. You've got a whole generation of people that those states don't have any use for. Those people don't have any usage for. So they've been feeding them welfare for the past 1-2 generations now.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as they get their welfare is daddy. I don't care what color you are. If you get welfare is your daddy. And that's by design. It's by design.
Absolutely.
It's not a bad thing. We are all conditioned. We're not the only places. Inner city New York and inner city Chicago, inner city Philadelphia. We're not the only places where they only teach people on an 8th grade level. It's all across the country. It's just that the reason why they teach those people to an 8th grade level is because they're also ill-informed, and if they knew a little bit more, they might not vote for the people that they vote for on a daily basis because they would know that we're getting the shaft here. We're not getting the education. We're not getting the advantage. We're not getting the job opportunities. And really, honestly, are there really job opportunities out there? The economy's shrinking. So as long as we're having these conversations about jobs in this manner, we're not having the bigger conversation about jobs in another manner.
Mm-hmm.
So we all fucked up. But I got to worry about mines.
Absolutely.
So
You know, and mine's in the broader sense. Me and mine.
Me and mines.
Yeah.
Grant,
You know, and
no, we have. Go ahead. What were you saying?
no, I was just gonna say the sad thing is all skin folk ain't kinfolk.
Oh, that's a damn truth. Especially when
Yeah.
we're talking about Mr. Whatever his name is. You know what I'm saying? B, you're not even American. You know what I'm saying? He's Nigerian. It's very possible that he came over here with seven figures. You know,
Right.
Nigeria has some very rich Africans that have mines, diamond mines, oil mines, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had another conversation. Well, you know, I'm going to save that. I'm going to table that one because we could probably have a conversation about that at another time. A deeper conversation about it another time. And we're pretty much almost at the 1 hour mark already, you know, because we've had such a very quick conversation. See, I told you, me and you can
Yeah. It
always
seemed like
carry
it went
this.
fast.
Yeah, yo,
Yeah, it seemed like it went fast.
listen, you and I can always have this conversation and talk about it for hours. It's just like being at Drew Hall late at night with a couple of brothers
Right.
and just having these philosophical conversations and covering all different things. And what people don't understand about our HBCU brethren is that though a lot of us have come from inner cities and places like that, there's a whole bunch of us that come from trust funds as well.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
For sure.
and when you have those conversations, you get very broad conversations. They would be like you, except for the fact that they've been pulled over by the police at some point, or they may
Right.
have had some type of negative experience. A lot of those black people that go to HBCUs like a Howard University, it's because of the fact that they've experienced some type of racism. And these are the people that we used to intermingle with that would allow you to stay in their homes. So we need to get to
Right.
know one another a little bit better. I get disappointed
Yes, sir.
when I hear all this stuff when people are fighting each other about different stuff. You don't even know each other. You don't know where you come from.
Right.
I just happen to be blessed. My family moved from the inner city out to Long Island. We always went back to Brooklyn. We were there. You know what I'm saying? I was there, so I got to see that experience. We were out in these places and around, so it's like I didn't have the luxury of like, you know, I didn't have the luxury of crying because somebody tried to call me the woke word. And that's what I'm going
Right.
to say. I'm going to start calling it the woke word. Not the N word, the woke word, because that's actually what they're calling us. We need to take these
Right.
things, we got to punish them. This generation doesn't punish these people for like basically calling them to their face.
Yeah, but this generation believes that everything is fair. You know what I'm saying? Like they have a genuine belief that, you know, white people are their brothers.
Well, guess what? Your brother you still have 13, no matter how much progress you think that you've made collectively or that you've made individually, just keep in mind that the same 13% of the wealth that black people owned, what was it? Is it 13%, Grant?
We're about 13% of the population.
About 13%. What is it of the wealth in this country? Is it 12? Is it 9? Something around there?
Yeah, it's less than 13.
It's like,
It's less than the 12% that we are.
whatever that number is, that number hasn't changed in over 150 years. And if you believe it hasn't changed since slavery ended. So you can think that either black people are the dumbest people on earth or there's got to be some collusion that's involved there. And it's just that what you're seeing right now is just the continuation of that collusion. And it's going to keep on going. And that's not necessarily all white people's problem, like you said, because not all white people are involved in that. It's still the same people that are holding you back, too, and everything.
Right.
If you've owned property for a couple of generations and you come from one of those families that pulled yourself up, guess what? You don't have to worry about that much longer because they're taking your properties back. Corporations are buying the properties. Just look in your neighborhood. This is the first time this show is like it's all inclusive. Everybody should hear what I'm saying right now, because all you have to do is look around and see the apartment buildings that are going up that they don't even have people to live in those apartment buildings. And you have to ask yourself, why? Why are they putting these buildings up? Is it because they just like to make these buildings, or is it in anticipation of a change in the way that you actually, the places that you live, the way that you live? They're already telling you how to live. They're already telling you what to do. And like RFK Jr. said, first step to totalitarianism is controlling all of the information. I've seen some other white guys come out and say, listen,
True.
It's not a good thing that what's going on with all this. You think that it's a victory. You're not winning shit. Because as soon as you win, as soon as you think that you win, if they can, the way it works is if they can do it to them, they can do it to you too.
That's a fact.
So this is a bleak one. We're going to go into a little bit of overtime right now because I didn't get to cover the one thing that I wanted to cover that was funny, and that's what I was trying to get to a couple of minutes ago. Did you read the article from The Root about problematic movies that wouldn't be shown, wouldn't be able to be made today?
Yeah, I saw some of the list. I don't remember everything that was on the list, but I do remember white girls being on the list, or white chicks. Wasn't that the Wayans movie?
Yeah, so my question to you would be this. Out of all those things that are inappropriate, all those movies that were inappropriate, what is the one movie that you would still like to see made, despite the fact that it's like very inappropriate for right now?
Man, it had to be on that list?
Yeah, it had to be on that list.
I would have to pull up the list because I don't remember all the movies that were on the list.
You don't remember all the movies on the list? I'll pull it up right now because we're a little bit over, but we're gonna get into this anyway because it's just so. White Chicks was definitely one of the movies.
Yeah.
What do we have here? Because the first one in the movie, Soul Man, that was like very bad, 1996. The premise of that movie was this is in The Root.
That was Denzel, right? Wasn't that a Denzel movie?
No. This is like a C. Thomas Howell, you know. And I
guess,
yeah. I guess they thought
that movie was horrible.
that was terrible, and I guess they thought that was good because he was like married to Ray Dawn Chong at the time, who's like Cheech and Chong's like daughter and everything, black girl and everything. So he can get away with being a Harvard student who steals a scholarship from a black person because his father won't let him go and won't pay for him because he's got substandard grades. Got substandard grades. He can get in as a black person into Harvard, and then at the end of the movie, he learns his lesson. That was another one. Rush Hour because of all the Chinese jokes. 16 Candles, which I've always said is problematic because that whole movie is just wrong. You've got Long Dick Dong.
No.
You've got selling
16 Candles is hilarious, though.
It's hilarious, but it's like wrong. Selling panties of a teenage girl in the school, and then like the worst thing at the end of the movie, like they said, I always like
the date rape shit.
I love the list. Yeah, it's a date rape movie. It like shows love for a date rape. Like what the, like yo, that was you got to understand. This is what they loved. This is the movies that they loved more than anything else. And this is and that was the conversation that was in that article, that was in that group, because it was about how everything that we do is good is now anti-woke. I'm going to use that for a term. Everything, instead of my code is going to be anti-woke when I want to say the W word, and woke when I want to say the black word. So it's like, it's all anti-woke. And my whole thing was that everything that I've seen from that culture that they've pushed from the top, rape, murder, inappropriate relationships, rock music was like, sex with 14, 16-year-old girls in the songs and everything. This was what they did. But the one movie that I could not go without that was on that list was the picture in the very beginning Tropic Thunder. Because,
Really?
yeah, Tropic Thunder, I got to tell you, Tropic Thunder, because to me, I don't care how bad and how problematic the actual movie was. Robert Downey Jr. in blackface for the entire movie. Fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
What do you mean, you people? 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 So ludicrous. Right. And the reason why I'm not upset for him taking that role and actually playing that is because of the fact that he was playing it's something that it's a lost art that people don't understand now, which is sarcasm and which is
right.
What's the word I'm looking for? Not sarcasm, but
like parody.
Parody. That's it. Because you can imagine someone being. He was playing an actor who was so self-absorbed that he thought that he could actually do that and it would be okay. And at the end of the movie, he actually did it. He actually, like, black guy slapped him. Nah, it's not okay, B. You know what I'm saying? So the message is, it was him walking around the movie all day long in blackface, but the message was there. It was like, it was parody. It was meant for you to understand that, yo, it's not okay for you to walk around and do this. And he did it so hilariously all day.
Right.
What do you mean? You know, that voice. So it's just like, yo, to me, Ken, I want that movie made no matter when. I want it made no matter what. So I just scanned through it again, and I don't know why I didn't remember, because Blazing Saddles. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's no way that I could, like, Blazing Saddles is one of my favorite movies, dog. Like, famous.
Not just hey, where's the white women at?
Hey, the anti-woke women at? Hey, boys, where's the anti-woke women at? If we were updating it now, it would be anti-woke women at. You know, that would be it. But yeah. Oh yeah, that one was great.
Yeah.
You know, would you like some schnitzel? It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. 15 is my limit on snitching groupers.
Exactly.
Look.
I was on the train. I'm gonna end the show with this story. I was actually on the train one day, and there were two anti-woke women and everything, and their daughters. And, you know, I always take the big seats and everything because I'm a big guy. I got my long legs and everything. And they were talking about movies, and somebody said Blazing Saddles, and they were like, that was the funniest movie ever. And they started talking about it as if they had. And I just turned to them and I just laughed, and I was like, yeah, it was. You know, completely inappropriate. But you know what? Yeah. They handled relationships and relations a lot better, than we did. As much as we say we've made progress, you had shows where when you saw a television show and you saw a black police officer, a black attorney, a black anything, it wasn't a big deal wasn't made out of it a lot of times because it was like the norm. And we knew that, and it was like written into the pie. That you knew that some people were going to be racist about it, but guess what? They weren't going to win at the end of the day. Nowadays, they can be racist about it, and in some areas they can win. And that's the problem. So, Grant, we're 11 minutes over because I love this conversation. It's kind of good that all four of us weren't here today because the show would have went on for like 3 hours.
Yeah, no doubt. You get Gene started on this shit, it's never ending.
It's never ending. From Detroit, Michigan, City Wing King, home of City Wings.
It's 2896 West Grand Boulevard, Detroit, Michigan. Come down and get you some.
Wings, that is. Mr. Grant Lancaster.
City Wings, I love.
And myself, I'm just your host, John X, host of Born in Trouble, and just overall kind of groovy cat and everything with a sense of humor. Never going to Florida. I'm going to holler at you unless it's to Miami. I may fly into Miami and fly back out. That's about it. Orlando's off limits for me now. The rest of the state, completely off limits for me right now. I'm not. You won't see me, but John X, Born in Trouble. Rob Brooks, Gene Hopkins. Catch you next time. Everybody out there, peace.
Peace.